This is the Ring of Honor, a.k.a. Shane T, boy, the baddest champion you ever seen, boy.
This is Mr. Anderson.
This is good old JR Jim Ross, and you are listening.
You're listening to Knockouts and 3 Counts.
Cover! We got it from their world champion!
That might be one of the craziest knockouts I've ever seen in my life.
Knockouts and 3 Counts is the podcast, baby! It's the real deal, baby!
Knockouts and 3 Counts starts now.
What up, though? This is Knockouts and 3 Counts, and it is fight week on multiple fronts as our guy, Mondo Gutierrez, gets ready to step into the cage this Friday in the PFL World Tournament. Saturday, Corey and I will be back on pay-per-view for two-piece promotions up in Cadillac, Michigan. Hopefully, we have a better transportation situation. But we will be back on pay-per-view
for you guys this time, all right?
Please, all of you guys that are watching this, I'm asking that you pray for us, because those that watch the show know this is why I had to get a new car. But we'll leave that for another time. But we are back on pay-per-view, two-piece promotions, live on Millions. If you're watching this on Millions, you can watch it on pay-per-view and listen to me and Corey babble about some fights. But there was a lot that went down this weekend. I was at Astronomionn. Shout out to Astronomionn. It was dope to be over there. Shout out to our guy, James Campbell, formerly of Dave and Chuck the Freak. Kicked it with him for quite a shit. I've probably seen him every day I was there. I also was part of his Sour Patch Banana Candy Challenge.
Yeah, how was that?
I'm not gonna lie, dude. They made it like those candies were supposed to be like so nasty, bro. That shit was not bad at all.
Yeah, they're pretty good.
I liked them all. Although I will say, the one I got a bag of them. He gave me a bag of them. The one, it's like orange pineapple, I think it was. That one's got like a little bit of like it's got like a bite and shit to it.
Little twang.
Yeah, like that one's got a little bite to it. The banana one, which they made out was like supposed to be like the most nasty candy of all the flavors. I'm like, bro, I like banana Laffy Taffy, so like I'm not gonna be mad if I get the banana candy. But unfortunately, the banana candy also meant that you were eliminated from said challenge. So go and check that out. Clearly, since I'm telling you the banana candy wasn't so bad, you can see I probably didn't win. But yeah, man. It was a good time. Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday night, and I went to Horror Slam as well. Shout out to ICW, No Holds Barred, and past guests of the show, Atticus Kogar is stepping away from Deathmatch Wrestling too.
That was big.
Like son of a bitch, dude. It was a lot of stuff went down this weekend. So J-Bone, how the fuck are you on a Tuesday? And I'll let you pick where we start. And then, as it says in our title, we got to talk about the road to WrestleMania. We got to talk about PFL. We got to talk about UFC 314. We got to talk about the new favor that we got. There's all these favors in pro wrestling in 2025. But
I need a favor. I need this weather to just stop being bipolar. How about that?
Yeah.
If we could stop being sick and
we
everybody's
live in
coughing
Michigan. That's impossible.
and runny noses and all this garbage. It is what it is. But other than that, dude, a lot of exciting stuff going on in the world of combat sports and pro wrestling. Where should we start? Want to start with Raw from last night? I'm cool.
Well, I feel like we got to tackle the weekend stuff first.
Okay. Well,
at least let's start Astronomionn, just because I ran into so many people down there.
You had a pretty nice little visit with everybody's favorite childhood crush, I would say.
Look, man, I'm gonna be honest. Trish was like right up there. I was a Lita guy when I was a kid because she was the first girl that I had ever seen that had tattoos on like that, and like that just was like.
And
I don't know.
Let's just be honest, wore her underwear in a very unique way that we have as
I mean,
teenage
you're
boys
not
never
wrong.
saw
That
before.
definitely might have helped. Although, I mean, I will say I feel like a lot of it too is I had never seen a girl do the shit that she did in the ring.
True.
Let's call it what it is. I had never seen nobody do that shit. Like I had never seen a woman get in there and jump off the top of fucking ladder and hit him with a Hurricane Rana and everything else to do this on a weekly basis. So that was something in and of itself too. But Trish, like you said, was right there too.
Do you remember that Raw main event with her and Trish where she did that? She dove to the outside and just landed all messed up, and it looked like.
Oh yeah, dude, that looked.
Yeah, Lita's always been legit. Hopefully, she asked about me. But other than that, dude,
She did. I don't think she remembered to mention it. Damn it. But yeah, dude, it was cool to meet Trish. And that. Wait a minute. Speaking of things that were mentioned, 8 years in the motherfucking making, Devin finally got his full circle moment with Trish Stratus. If you guys didn't check it out, you can check it out on our Instagram and YouTube and all those things. And if you're watching on YouTube, make sure you hit that subscribe button. But for those that are the OG fans of this show, they know that Devin had, we'll call it a gripe with Trish.
Tell me what happened. Tell me the story. Can you? Is it all right?
Six Flags, which was a WWE, like WWE did a lot of like signings and stuff at Six Flags, and I guess Devin went through and he met her, but I mean Devin's always been a big son of a bitch. I mean, I wonder if he wore a Kangol back then, but that I don't know. But with that said, you know, he's always been a big dude, and so like he met her and everything, and she like hugged everybody else but wouldn't hug him. So right,
because he's so big.
I mean, I don't know what it was, but I asked Trish, you know, what was up with it, and she said no. She said she actually liked Devin's aura. She said she liked Devin's aura. She said it wasn't that he freaked her out or anything. She just didn't want to hug him. So I was like, bro, you gotta take him where you can get him. She said she liked your aura.
Hey, you got more compliments from her than I did.
There you go. See,
it's
all about perspective.
At least you're winning that game. There's dudes out here that would kill to have a compliment from Trish Stratus. So there you go, pal.
Yeah, man. So there was that. I also met the best there is, the best there was, the best there ever will be, Bret the Hitman Hart, which that was cool. Bret's a super cool, chill dude. I told him that I still have a piece of paper that he signed for my dad when I was like, I had to been shit. I don't know, man. Maybe I wasn't even middle school. I mean, it had to have been elementary. It might have been middle school, somewhere between elementary school and middle school. I still have it where he signed it, and I told him I enjoyed his chat with our guy, the Wrestling Classic. Shout out to Classic. I will be seeing him next week because I am headed to Vegas. It's gonna be a good time. I'm ready for some warm weather and margaritas and wrestling, and it's going to be a good time.
Much needed break. Yeah, much needed break.
You're damn right, dude, because with this car accident and everything else, I swear to God, I really could use some time out. But yeah, Astronomionn was cool. Shout out to Time Blaster Toys. I saw our friend Priest and everybody over there. I saw Angry Grandma. No, she did not call me a motherfucker. Yeah, Astronomionn was cool,
there?
but
Did you see Uncle Terry there? I didn't.
Oh, and when am I forgetting? Holy shit! I'm over here talking about Bret Hart and Trish Stratus. It was Showtime as well. I got to meet the legendary Sting. Mm-hmm. It was damn cool. Although I'm not
was like the talk of the
painted goatee was wild to me at first. Kind of threw me off when I first
that was the talk of the social media.
Jet silver hair and shit, and he's got the beard all painted out like that.
Yeah,
it wasn't quite like yours, but the fact that he never had facial hair and then to have a goatee and it was painted all the way down to it was a sight to be seen. But I asked him if you.
It definitely wasn't small. Put it that way. I seen the picture and stuff. It definitely.
No.
It was definitely one of the more popular topics of Astronomionn, at least on Facebook, anyway.
So I asked him also if he remembered our friend Sammy the Heat Worthington. Sadly, he did not remember or remember her family watching his son. But, you know, I mean, given the fact that was a long ass time ago, we can give things a pass. But yeah, dude, it was good times. A lot of people there. This is the most packed I've ever seen one, though. That was by far just like insanely packed. Didn't get to do any interviews like we normally get from Astronomionn, but all in all, good time. And then I had to judge some fistfights on Saturday night as well. So it was like I said, busy weekend, but good weekend. But with that said, J-Bone, you picked the first topic
Oh,
of
Raw.
Raw. All right.
Raw is so fresh in my brain. I've been
Gotta spit it out. It's just
yeah,
out,
dude.
it's
You know
right
what's
on
crazy?
the tongue,
I
yeah.
so look forward to Mondays, and me and the kiddo, we sit down, we eat dinner, we watch Raw. I usually fall asleep about an hour and a half into it, and then I wake up like right at the end, and then I rewind it and watch it again. But Raw on Netflix, let me just say, I don't know if there's any haters out there, but since Raw has hit Netflix, I'm telling you, every single show has been a banger, dude. There has really been no letdowns as far as Raw. And Kyle, I don't know if you see it on Twitter or any other socials, but there used to be a lot of talk of like Raw was just mediocre this week. You don't see that no more now that they're on Netflix. Every single Raw show has been like up to par every single time, dude.
I mean, they've had some that like were not as good as others, but I mean, all in all, dude, I feel like WWE as a whole has been on a hit, but I do think between Raw and SmackDown, I kind of feel like Raw has kind of shifted back to like the
it's got something. I don't know what the word is for it.
Kind of shifted back to the premiere show in a lot of ways. I've loved the vibe that they've had on there, dude. There's been a lot of good stuff. I feel like we had another good episode of Raw last night.
Yeah,
I feel
right off
Seth
the rip.
Rollins is a savage.
Yes. And then right off the rip, you got the triple threat match that's now announced with Rhea Ripley added to the triple threat match.
How do you feel about that, though? Are you okay with that match, or do you feel like this is kind of like a fuck you to Io Sky?
I do feel like out of the three, Io being the champion, she's getting the tail end of this whole thing because I don't think anybody thinks she's going to come out of the winner. And I hope, I mean, it's just an early prediction. I hope that they do book her to be the winner because Rhea don't need it. Bianca don't need it. Those two are superstars already. So if Io can somehow get a title win at WrestleMania over them two, that's just going to boost her to the next level. So if anybody needs it, it's her. And I hope they book it that way. I really do.
Yeah. So you're saying that you hope that Io Sky gets the win at WrestleMania? Wow.
That would be a huge, huge check for her resume, dude.
You're not wrong. It would. And I could see a situation where Bianca gets in Rhea's way or vice versa. And then so by proxy, they fuck each other over and Io capitalizes. That's not a bad pick. And
Because
ultimately, then it would lead to Bianca versus Rhea.
If you look at the promos leading up to that, they've kind of shunned her out, even with her being the champion. You know, they both pushed her away in those little three-way promos. You know what I mean? Just like on Raw last night, Rhea pushed her out of the equation so she could get at Bianca, and Io had to show her what's up. So I think that's what they're going for. But, you know, if I'm booking it, Io's my next star anyway. Like I said, Rhea's already a star. Bianca's already a star. Let's make another one. Book it, man.
And I mean, Io had. Go ahead, Corey.
I was just going to say hard to argue with, especially how J-Bone mentioned she comes in already the champ. Whenever you see those kind of matchups, I feel like that's what makes the most sense. To your point, when you've already got two top-level talents, let them go out there, garner the interest for the match because of the name interest and stuff like that, but then have the new up-and-coming champ, you know, have them put on the killer performance that at the end of the night, everybody's like, oh, look what she was able to do, though. You know, and I think it's one of those, you know.
And going forward in her career, if she's got a WrestleMania win over Bianca Belair and Rhea Ripley, like I said,
it's big.
You're building a star right there. So I'm saying, if I'm Triple H, I'm booking that shit. Let's go.
Yeah, no bigger spot in the sport, that's for sure. WrestleMania.
Appreciate that. If you guys are watching or you hear this on the audio
Storm
platform,
Chasers, I love storm chasing shit. I watch that shit on YouTube. I'm gonna go subscribe. Shit, actually. Thanks.
I do not have any business being up in the middle of a storm. You can have that shit. I watched Twister as a kid. You know, I don't know, but I agree with that. That was dope. Like I said, I think that they've garnered a little more interest for this. I just hope that we can heat Rhea Ripley back up too, because I do feel like kind of the steam has kind of come off her a little bit too.
Yeah.
But now
Kyle,
we got.
I was going to ask you a question though, real quick before we jump off that. Do you think that like they just didn't have anything for her, like as of now? Because I felt like they were kind of teetering on whether to put her back in that mix or not in the triple threat. Do you think it's just because like we've got Rhea in the title picture 3 of the past 4 years or something like that? I don't know. But
so are you saying, do I think that that they put Rhea in there because they didn't have anything to do with her?
yeah, because they didn't have anything else spotlight.
I think they put Rhea in there because they still know that Rhea is one of the biggest stars in the company, whether it's male or female.
Yeah, I was just wondering if maybe they're waiting on something. Maybe they're trying to get her like a bigger match. I don't know. I just feel like there was a lot of like maybe not type of deal with her because we just didn't know until literally last night. We're 12 days away from WrestleMania. She didn't have a match.
So I agree. So I agree with that, except I feel like that's kind of been the build, to be honest with you, with a lot of things at WrestleMania, if we're being honest. Like they're still putting together a lot of the matches as we speak. And like you said, we're only, we're days away from it. I'm literally going through the other shows. I was literally going through the other shows that are going to be down there Mania week to figure out what else I plan on getting into. So, I mean, I kind of feel like that's been like the theme of like this build for WrestleMania for the most part, except for Seth Rollins, the Punk and Roman Reigns thing. Cause I got to be honest, Punk cashing in his favor and saying that he wants Paul Heyman in his corner.
Yeah. That's huge.
Was like long-term storytelling to the nth degree, because anybody that's been following Twitter or Instagram or any of the social medias has seen the video circulating where Paul Heyman said one day he was going to walk with him to the ring to WrestleMania and to the main event at WrestleMania. Now here we are, he's with Roman Reigns, but because CM Punk is his best friend, he's got to fulfill his favor. But then we see what happened on Raw. Then you got Joe Elmore checking in.
Yay.
Fight news coming this week.
Ooh.
I like to hear it. Speaking of that, we've got to talk about, shout out to past guest of the show, Britton Hart, retaining the strap in Dubai, doing the thing over there. We always enjoy a drop in from the Hitman. Is the Hitman going to be watching WrestleMania, or what are you thinking about UFC 314? We're going to get to that in a little bit. But like I said, man, I feel like that's been the overall theme of the build to WrestleMania, what for better or worse. But in the CM Punk thing, like I said, then you had Seth Rollins attack Paul Heyman. And then CM Punk comes out to make the save and ends up getting laid out by Seth Rollins, and Seth Rollins stops up on stomping Paul Heyman's head in.
Yeah.
And so now he says Paul owes him a favor. What if we get the left field swerve of Paul Heyman going with Seth?
I don't hate it. I mean, they don't need it, right? None of those guys in the ring really need Paul Heyman because they're all good on the microphone, but hey, it ain't gonna hurt. It never hurts having the GOAT in your corner. You know what I mean? And I think it would just put a bigger heel stamp onto Seth as far as his story, which I would love. But at the same time, now we're all expecting that too. You know what I mean? So I just want them to get us, man. Get us, make it to where we just didn't see it coming. You know what I mean?
I think diehards might be thinking that, but I don't think Joe every fan is thinking that though.
Yeah, you might be right.
We're thinking that because we know how Paul Heyman is.
Mm-hmm.
You have to understand, a lot of this generation that's watching now, I feel like doesn't know. I could be wrong. If you guys are watching and feel differently, let me know in the comments. But I think that a lot of the younger fans aren't as hip to the dealings of one Paul Heyman or Paulie Dangerously or whatever name you want to use. I feel like we all know that Paul looks out for Paul and what he thinks is going to be the best move. But I'm just saying, and I didn't, to be honest, I'm not going to say that it was my thought. Bubba Dudley talked about it a little bit on Busted Open this morning, and I sat and thought about it. And when you really think about that, it would be interesting just because, like, A, it's something we've never seen. B, we've already seen the friction that's created now because Roman Reigns is like, well, what the fuck? You're supposed to be my wise man, and you're saying you're going to be in CM Punk's corner. And then you got CM Punk, who is going to be wondering, well, you're not really going to give Seth Rollins a favor now.
Right.
So
and then,
now...
And then full circle, Roman Reigns, if there's anybody in the world that he doesn't want his wise man to be with, it is definitely Seth Rollins,
his mortal enemy who's got him with the chair in the back all them years later. So yeah, dude, Shakespeare type shit.
Yeah,
type of stuff you like to see headed into
it's almost like one of those things you don't want to dig too deep into it because you want to be thoroughly like invested come WrestleMania. You know what I mean?
You want the surprise to be real when it hits.
Yeah. I'm glad that's going to be a night one though. Saturday night. I'm glad.
I think that's the right main event because I mean, even though we're gonna talk, I mean, we can lead right into that. But even though you've got Jey Uso versus Gunther for the World Heavyweight title, I still feel like the Punk match has more
invested in that triple threat match.
I agree, but that said, that segment we saw with Jimmy and Jay and Gunther, man. That was some savage shit. Had him handcuffed to the ropes, just beating the dog shit out of Jimmy, and then got his blood all over him, like just beating the piss out of him. Then he can't say nothing, can't like. That was some savage type shit.
And I'll say, while I think that's gonna be a good match, and there's nothing against that match, and it just hasn't had the build up as the other main events, right? But after the promo that main event Jay cut last night, that took that up. And you know what I mean? Because that promo, you believe that promo. He talked about his family. He threatened Gunther. He said, I'm hoping God don't judge me for who I become, pretty much, to Gunther. You know what I mean? So that was a promo that worked. And it definitely got to invest in that match now. So
and to your point, you know, you mentioned to your point and what you pointed out from the promo, like to me, this is like a David versus Goliath kind of thing. Like we all know Gunther's like this destroyer, but Jey Uso's the guy that everybody loves and wants to like, you know, wants that guy that everybody wants to see win. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But everybody knows deep in your heart, like Gunther's a bad motherfucker, dude. There's no other way to put it. Like,
it's almost
we've
like
been saying that since he was known as Walter in another life when he was in Progress and Evolve and all those things before he ever even got to the WWE. And I feel like Gunther has just taken that and just skyrocketed. I mean, think about it. The guy won all the belts in NXT, comes to the main roster, has the longest Intercontinental Championship reign of all time, and now has been world champion since Mania last year.
Yeah.
So he's been champion a year now?
No. He lost last year to Sammy. When did he win the world title?
Or no, that was Bash in Berlin. I'm lying.
Yeah.
It was Bash in Berlin. I got my pay-per-views fucked up. But he's been champion for a while, regardless of the exact length. The point is he's had a long run with the big title, already had the longest run of all time with the Intercontinental title, and I feel like brought a lot of shine back to that, dude. But something in me still says
after the promo
Jay's
last
gotta
night,
get that
though,
dub, dude.
After the promo last night, did you see the look on Gunther's face? Gunther was shook a little bit. That's the first time you've seen Gunther like, oh shit, okay, like maybe I woke something up in this kid. You know what I mean? So
it's like the classic bully story when you think about it. It's like, I beat the shit out of him, and then
I beat your brother up.
but now it's like, oh shit, well, he's not scared of me anymore.
Yeah.
And then the bully's whole tone changes. So I think I think that one, I'm hoping at least for them guys that it'll be that'll be a banger of a a banger of a match as a whole.
Helped out for me personally. It helped a lot because now I'm into it. You got me with that one.
Okay, so talking about promos that are getting you into things, we got to talk about Charlotte and Tiffy time.
Oh boy, that one. All right, now that one. Look, I'm into it, man. But holy crap,
I'm not gonna lie. if
that's one you don't.
They were both okay with it. That's one thing, but man, I'm not gonna lie. When I heard it, I'm like, yo,
yeah, maybe they were both okay with it. I mean, they got to work together in 12 days. Maybe they were fine.
She did get out of the ring awful quick though after she said that shit.
She did, and the comeback that Charlotte threw about Kaiser was not one of your typical comebacks in any type of promo situation. So, and it just. There's no way that was written and approved. WWE even took it down off their YouTube page. They cut that out of the YouTube video. So I don't think that was approved by any means. If it wasn't, and that was a cheap shot, that sucks. But on the other hand, when you're a star like Tiffy and you're trying to build up against the GOAT, you got to take all the jabs you can, man. So I don't blame her. But at the same time, I feel bad for Charlotte. Because
what it was wild was the timing of it, because Charlotte was on that interview the day before talking about her trouble.
Right?
Yeah, like talking about the troubles that she's had with marriage and how she was 0 for 3, and then like talking about you're going to be alone and you can't keep a man and blah blah blah. And I'm just like, yo,
yeah,
like
Charlotte literally said she feels like she's failing at life because she's failed three of her marriages have failed essentially, and now. Tiffany used that in her promo, like you're about to be 0-3 or whatever it was at WrestleMania, bitch. Like that hurts, dude. That hurts, you know. So, like I said, if it's gonna make you a few bucks, and I'm Charlotte, and she's okay with that, then fine. But if that,
and I mean, if they're working us, cool, bro. But like the fact that Charlotte immediately threw the Kaiser jab, and like that's why your man is in my DMs. And naming him by name when it's not really like a thing that's outed that they're together. I mean, like the hardcores know, you know, but like it's not something that they like play into on TV at all. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I felt like
me feel like okay, that was real. That was real.
Well, right, and that's why the quickness with the fire back like that and how quickly she got out of the ring was like
usually lets you know something. That's for sure.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that's how it came off.
Having a rough time even before that with the crowd because the crowd was booing the shit out of her.
Oh, dude, they were giving Charlotte a hard ass time, bro.
She looked like she was already shook before that part even happened. So I don't know. That just like you said, I hope they're working for the business sake. But hey, what do they say? What did Bischoff say? Controversy creates cash. And look, we're watching it now. So hey, here we are. Yeah, it is what it is, man. That's WrestleMania. Let's go, dude.
You're not wrong, dude. Like I said, I'm ready to get there. I'm still not too happy about these ticket prices, but
not bad.
You know, I am ready for margaritas in Vegas, though. That
are you going to the Nerd Bar? I'm sure you're gonna stop at the Nerd Bar. That was my favorite.
You know, shout out to Johnny in the Nerd Bar. I still want you to know I hate you for your mechanical object that is in your bar because my mother talks about it all the time. But with that being said, I am looking forward to that. I have to text Johnny and tell him that I'm coming down there because
Vegas, dude.
Hell yeah. And it's going to be the official after party for Joey Janela's spring break, which is going to have the last match with Joey Janela and Sabu. And anybody who really knows what time it is, there was a cool moment between myself and Sabu, and you know, we'll leave it at that.
And
but
outside of Nerd Bar, what, 2 years ago? When did we go to AEW?
Well, what did I say? What stays at Vegas?
What happens in Vegas?
What happens in
Vegas?
Vegas? Yeah, and then what happens at Nerd Bar while in Vegas definitely stays at Nerd Bar.
Great times.
We got the party over there at Nerd Bar. I'm gonna be at Wale Mania on Thursday. It looks like we're looking at going to Heels Have Eyes from the homie West Side Gun. I'm gonna be out and about.
You're gonna be busy, dude. You ain't sleeping. No sleeping.
Trying to be active, bruh. Trying to be active. And I'm trying to come back with a tan so at least I can feel like the heat was with me, even if I freeze my balls off when I come home. But
hopefully it'll be warm by then. I mean, gotta pray, yeah.
Yeah, get our last.
Well, Vegas, I'd like to hope will be, but you know, we'll see what happens with that. We also got the Kevin Owens injury, which that's really kind of a bummer to hear, dude.
Yeah, that sucks, man.
Yeah, dude. Like, and who knows how long he could be out, because we're talking like neck stuff like that. Like,
yeah, I mean, history shows, some of the major players have had neck injuries. Daniel Bryan, Edge, Stone Cold Steve Austin. And it's never a quick, surgery and you're back in a couple months. It's never that fast. What was Edge out? 12 years, was it, Kyle?
11 years.
11 years? So
I mean, the wrestling game is definitely a lot different, but the only person that I've seen with a relatively successful one and still return to a high end relatively quickly was Aljamain Sterling.
Yeah.
That's not really the only like top level athlete that I can think of that had a full on, neck surgery and then came
Don't
right
forget
back,
about Kurt Angle, bro.
Kurt Angle.
Yeah.
It was like his big
but his wasn't right back though. His was same thing. Like wasn't that like 4 or 5 years after the fact?
No, he broke.
Didn't he
his
break
neck.
it in the Olympics, right?
He broke it originally in the '96 Olympics and won the Olympics with a broken neck.
I remember
Broken
that.
And then
freaking
he
neck.
got it. Yeah, broken freaking neck. Excuse me. But then after that went and he broke his neck a few different times in WWE and kept coming back. And then he had his injuries in TNA too. So he's broke his neck.
He's just one. His neck's just a
Yeah.
solid.
Yeah, if you look at him
he's
now,
done
you can
it
see it's just
multiple
like-
times and in different ways. Like,
Yeah.
but shout out to Kurt Angle, man. Like, he's one of the best to
Yeah.
ever do it. Period. And anyone who knows shit about what they're talking about will tell you the same.
I just hope, with
that
the advanced surgical procedures and everything. Hopefully, Kevin Owens just recovers fully, man, because that dude's given us so much
for real,
over the
man.
years.
Between him, Big E, like, dude, you never like to see somebody go out like that.
Think of the matches KO just had, like the Royal Rumble with Cody.
Think about it.
With
His last
Sammy,
big match could have been with Sammy, bro. The one they just had in Toronto. Banger.
Yeah, that dude was giving it his all, doing just the craziest spots out there with a neck just held together by a rubber band, pretty much. And it's sad to see, man. I would just hope the best for him. I don't know. That's all you can do right now.
100%. Can't argue that at all. With that, so who do you think Randy Orton's opponent is going to be? I keep hearing rumors that I hear Aleister Black, but we haven't seen him come back yet, so those are all hypotheticals. But who would you put in the slot, man?
I don't know the status of Nick Aldis. I never knew.
I would love the Nick Aldis match. I've heard that thrown around, and I would love that so much.
And so is there a reason that he went to being the GM? Was he hurt by any means, or did he just step into that role? So there's no injury then.
No.
Okay.
And he said he would wrestle.
Then that's what I'd like to see, because I feel like, one, he deserves to be there.
Would
Absolutely.
you rather see that though, instead of what's being rumored of maybe the possible Aleister Black return?
Right now, I would, yes, because let's be honest, Aleister Black, not saying he doesn't deserve a spot at WrestleMania, but he doesn't deserve the return at WrestleMania. Nick Aldis does deserve a WrestleMania match with even
I'd
just
love to see
not
Nick
wrestling.
Aldis wrestle in WWE.
He's
because
played
I
a
was
major
such
role.
A fan of his
He's
in
played
TNA.
such a major role on SmackDown, just in that GM role, that he's already included in the storyline. So, dude, put him in. If that's what it takes, put him in. They're already planting the seeds. He's already RKO'd him. Was that 2 times now? 3 times?
Yeah, dude. I would love to see it.
A while back when he RKO'd him and he gave him double the fine. And he's like, it's 50,000. You gave me 100,000. He goes, yeah, this is for next time. So then now you got the next time, right? So hey, the seeds are there. Why not do it?
I would like to see that. And then the last thing we got to get into with WWE before we get there is AEW Dynasty was this weekend too. I feel like had some banger matches. Will Ospreay versus Kevin Knight was badass.
Yes.
Tony Storm versus Megan Bayne was badass. But then there was some really weird shit that happened in some of those matches too, like the Chris Jericho match with
the match I was looking forward to the
Bandito,
most.
and I've never seen that happen in wrestling before. Like, it's one
I was
thing.
looking forward to that match more than anything on that card, just because I love Bandito and I like Jericho. But
Were you
you're
caught
right.
off guard by the way they did the finish?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
It was. It was like, wait, what? What's happening? It's fucking. She's like, the bat's behind the stairs. It's just like,
Since when did we start listening to people in the crowd? Because every show I've ever been to where a heel does some shit like that, the whole crowd yelling.
Yeah, you just deal with it. You got over on us. The heel made it work. The referee didn't see it. That's the end of it.
Corey Cliff Notes version for you. Jericho smoked him in the head with a bat, hid the bat behind the stairs. Bandito's mom and sister are in the front row and are yelling. And here comes another referee down to the ring.
Not even the referee refereeing the match.
First just another referee, and then they're telling her, and so she told no. I don't even think they did that. Mm-mm. She told Aubrey, and then Aubrey told the other referee, so they restarted the match, and then Bandito won. Which back in the day, man, if the ref didn't see it,
no,
yeah, I remember.
Ref didn't see it, it didn't happen.
That's what made the heels like still obtainable was the fact that you could land that
I'm cool with Bandito winning the match. I was hoping he'd win the match anyway, but I'm
not mad at Bandito winning. I just thought that was a little weird.
Circumstances,
Yeah, I didn't.
What do you think about Mox keeping the belt, dude? I'm not gonna lie. I kind of thought Swerve was gonna take the strap.
I did too, and I've been reading a lot of the internet stuff, and people are not very happy with the way that went down because the Bucks showed up and hit Swerve, and Mox kept the belt. But not saying anything bad about Mox because he's definitely a deserving champion. The guy's been carrying that belt in that company for a long time since he's got there, pretty much
since the beginning.
And nothing against Mox, but I thought that particular night there should have been a different finish, and I thought Swerve should have won that match. So I don't know. I mean, I don't think you've seen the last of Swerve, obviously, in that title picture, but yeah, I don't know where we're going with that.
What do you
That's
think?
The only thing I don't like about AEW, bro, and we've talked about this off camera, Kyle. They don't do a great job of like building a story and then finishing a story. It always goes a different direction. Before you can get to the finish line, we're going to a different track every single time. And I don't know, that kind of stuff. When you got WWE firing on all cylinders storyline wise, it's hard for you to settle for that kind of stuff in another company, if that makes sense.
That's a fair point. I can't even be mad at that. All right. The other thing, what about FTR turning on all rated R Cope over here, bro?
I was shocked by that. Thoroughly did not see that.
Not gonna lie, I thought they might split before I saw that.
I did too. Curious to see how that works. Hopefully, I'm thinking. Well, if you had to guess, it'd turn into an Edge and Christian type gig, right? Versus
that's kind of what the rumblings have been, and I'm totally fucking here for it.
With that,
please let that happen. Like I look. It wasn't on my 2025 bingo card, but I'll gladly put that in my free spot. Like
Absolutely.
For real. Like, you give me Edge and Christian one more time while they both can wrestle after Edge had to go out like that. Fuck yeah.
Edge has been putting on some. We're sitting there calling him Edge. It's not even his name no more. But he's been putting on some.
I said rated R Cope.
I don't even like that. That's just Adam Copeland.
He's still Edge to me, but for now, he's rated R Cope.
He's been putting on some banger matches, though, since he's been over there, too. So,
dude, the one with him and Christian was badass. I just don't know why it wasn't on pay-per-view.
Right. So hopefully,
but I'm with that. I'm interested to see what's next. I want to see Edge and Christian back together. That totally would be up my alley. I'm with that. But we got some fighting stuff to talk about. Like I said, for those of you guys who are watching us on Millions, we will be on the pay-per-view this Saturday for Two Piece Promotions in Cadillac, Michigan. Getting ready to head back up north to go do that this Saturday. And, we got a big-ass fight card, probably one of the best that we're going to have all year. And UFC 314, you got past guests of the show, Michael Chandler taking on Patty Pimblett. I mean, look, I know a lot of people like Patty, but I'm kind of hoping Michael Chandler smashes him. You've also got Volk versus Diego Lopez, and past guests of the show, Austin Bash. He's been all out there in Mexico, helping him get ready and everything with that. And there's another big one on there. Which other one am I forgetting? Let me pull up that card real quick. But
Rodriguez versus Pitbull.
That's it. That was what I was trying to remember. I'm so stoked to see Pitbull in a UFC cage.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
totally. That one could really steal the.
He
what
fucks
version
around
of
and beats
Yair-
him, he could have a title shot next.
Well, also, it's what version of Yair do we see, though? Because Yair, sometimes he's unimpressive, but if he comes out there the full version of himself and then Pitbull's still able to walk away victorious, that would be the real testament for me.
Yeah, I can't argue that, dude. I'll be honest, dude. I still feel like Pitbull. I feel like Pitbull has been underrated on the world stage for a long time because he was in Bellator. When I really do think like Prime Pitbull could beat like a lot of the fucking dudes who were like up top at 145 or even 155, to be honest. And I think him getting in here at the time he is, I mean, I'm be honest with you. I got Pitbull in this fight, bro. I really do. I think Pitbull is going to show everybody what time it is. I really do.
It's hard to argue with that pick. I mean, it's really one of them things. Like,
And it's not hating on Yair because Yair's a dog, but I feel like people are sleeping on the killer that is Patricio Pitbull.
It for me, it is a really tough stylistic matchup. I feel like Yair has shown himself to be really good on the ground. I know it was semi-fluky or whatever, but that first Brian Ortega fight between the two of them, he got the submission on Brian Ortega. Impressive enough alone. He's shown himself to be enough of a ground threat where I don't think Pitbull can just take him down, ground him out, and there's no opposition there. I think if it stays in a striking battle, I feel like Yair's got more tools in his shed, and he's also more complex, faster, just all of the above. But to your point, I feel like this is one of those moments where, like what we've seen with Michael Chandler now 4 or 5 years ago, where it was like put up or shut up, straight for the top type of attitude, where it's like you end up, like you guys say, if he walks away victorious with come Saturday, that's a huge one. That it doesn't get you any closer for an immediate splash. That's his Dan Hooker fight, like what we've seen with Chandler. And if he's able to do what Chandler did in that type of fight, we could see him be the next guy that floats around that era like Chandler.
And he was the long-term champion in there in Bellator, for those that don't know about Pitbull like that. Like, dude, he was a champ. Him and his brother ran roughshod over Bellator for a long time. And that's when they had killers in there. Back when even before that, back when they were running the tournaments in the MTV 2 days. I mean, they've been killers for a long time over there. I'm really stoked to see that happen. Like I said, as far as I'm concerned, I'm going with Pitbull in that fight. But
get you some money, Kyle. So he's a plus 165 right now.
My only concern is the age. Did he make the?
But
it's 4 years later than Chandler or whatever. Like I was saying before, made his return.
But he's still been fighting top level fights, though. It's not like a guy who.
He lost his belt in Bellator in one of the fights, regained it again, tried to go down to 35 if I'm not mistaken, and lost that fight. So he's shown himself to have some chinks in the armor. Sure,
I definitely wish it had been a few years ago, but
that's all I'm saying.
I get you. And that makes sense, and that's a fair point. I agree with that. I mean, there's definitely room for that to happen, but. I don't know, man. Maybe it's just the OG fan in me.
All that being said, he did leave PFL with the reigning Bellator champ, whatever that meant when all that fizzled out. So to your point, Kyle, I think there's a lot to be proven come Saturday, and that's what I like most about this fight. Is it's like one of those for real, like, let's see what you got. You know who you're up against. This is somebody who's been in the UFC. You've got a ton of film on him. You see what he does. He's dangerous as shit. Let's see if you can win this fight. And that's what I like about it the most, honestly.
Yeah, that's going to be a hell of a fight, dude. The other fight, how loud do you think they're going to be yelling? I mean, how loud are they? Are they going to be yelling "fuck Bryce Mitchell" on Saturday?
I was going to ask you guys that.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. I would not be surprised, honestly, as much as I hate it, because I mean, Bryce is a character and he says some very dumbass shit. I do not endorse some of the things he says at all. That being said, he makes me laugh, and
He's funny,
you know,
man, but he says some real
I
dumb
could see
shit.
myself having a beer with that guy. You know what I'm saying?
As long as he doesn't start talking about Nazis.
Yeah,
That's
he's one of those guys who needs a
that's
public
joke,
relations
but
person.
yeah, no,
You know what I mean?
yeah, he needs some education, you know, some time spent and stuff like that. You know, not saying he's wrong about every point he makes. I'm just saying he's definitely an interesting character, and some things are better left unsaid. Even
Do you
know,
think
if
he's
that's-
going to be beating John Silva, or do you think John Silva is going to kill another person?
I feel like John Silva's looked insane since he's made his run to the UFC, right? But he has not fought anybody of that ilk, right? And Bryce Mitchell, this one thing I like about this matchup, and we haven't seen it in a long time because they kind of stepped away from like making fights as big as they used to be, right? Like there isn't this whole big press conference tour and stuff like that. They only usually do them like the week of the fight. They'll do one on Thursday or some shit. And it's like, well, these guys are all sucked out. They got to make weight tomorrow. And now you're trying to put them all in front of a microphone and act like they're all pumped and ready to, you know. That being said, that one, I believe it was like, you know, a month ago or something like that, when the initial announcement of the pay-per-view was made, or whenever the announcement was made 2 months ago or whatever. That being said, man, John Silva really got that crowd against him. And man, did Bryce Mitchell really feel it in all these interviews and stuff I've seen him since be talking about. He isn't able to sleep right because he's seeing demons, and he feels like he's fighting a demon, and there's only one real Lord. And you know, I don't know what we're gonna see. To your guys' point, this feels more pro wrestling to me than it does MMA, honestly. But it feels like at the end of the day, it's still a fight. So it's like it's this wild mixture of emotions on my end. Normally nowadays it's just a fight. Even if it is a big fight, I'll get like the little bit of like, you know, hearts pounding and shit and stuff like that. But it's not like the big tie-in and stuff like that. We don't see the DC and John Jones, you know, back and forth and stuff like we used to and stuff. So
Well, I feel like a lot of that's got to do with. I agree. I think John Silva's trying to capitalize off that momentum and play the hero role in this one, and I don't blame you for doing it. I mean, if it pushes you up the ladder, and I like to your point, we always talk about momentum, and I'm a big believer in momentum, and he's got a lot of it right now. But also to your point, I also think that. Well, I mean, again, I think that's because of the momentum he's got right now. Yeah. But I also think that, you know, to Corey's other point, I don't think he's necessarily faced the caliber of guy like a Bryce Mitchell. And I mean, to your point, I don't agree with a lot of the shit he says. I don't know about the flat earth thing. I don't know about I certainly don't mess with the other shit that he said. But
wild man, that's for sure.
Look, the Jesus is Lord thing, I got no problem with that because I'm a Christian, as I've said before. But like, there's certain things like the whole Nazi thing and all that stuff that, yeah, I can't. But as far as the fight goes, I think Bryce Mitchell might be able to capitalize. But man, if John Silva can go in there and really rile that crowd up and kind of get in Bryce's head and try to get Bryce to like try to scrap with him, that dude's got dynamite in his hands. So,
and they kept showing that clip for everybody that was watching this last week's, you know, fight week or fight night. The Josh Emmett knocking him out, and it just kept like playing in my head. I'm like, man, if John Silva does that with all the hype and momentum and everything that's going into this fight, dude, that's just going to be such a like, you know, that. They're gonna blow the doors off that place, as they say. You know,
he's public enemy number one come fight night. That's for sure.
Yeah. You think it's John Silva or Bryce Mitchell, J-Bone?
I'm taking John Silver, dude. I can't. I just can't. You know, we don't got to go into it, but I just can't.
I don't blame you guys one bit. I want to see Bryce Mitchell win because I had explained that he's the character. I love the character that is this Southern
and I
guy.
liked a lot of the stuff he says too. I just think he needs to stop saying dumb shit.
Yeah, he's also
he's sitting at plus 200 right now.
I also thinking John Silva's probably going to win though.
I wonder imagine what the bet line's going to look like come Saturday on that one.
Yeah. I mean, it'll probably continue to climb if I was to guess. Because honestly, what we've seen from Bryce Mitchell, at least in his last couple fights, to get more technical with it, I know he's coming off a victory. I can't think of who at the moment.
It was Crown Gracie.
Yeah, that was that Crown Gracie fight, which was like a surprising matchup to begin with. But that being said, he did look pretty damn good in that fight. But before that, he had kind of stumbled a little bit. It didn't look like he was making them career trajections like we had thought. Maybe this, he looked like somebody when he had that undefeated, record and stuff, granted the tough losses and stuff like that, but he looked like somebody that could really work their way up into the top fives and stuff. And I feel like we didn't see that in his last like three. That last one with the Crown Gracie, kind of a little bit of an asterisk. I think we've seen more of that direction out of it, but still, I feel like what we've seen from John Silva is somebody who does appear to be on a rocket ship towards the top. So for me, I feel like for now, maybe Bryce Mitchell is the one that, cools one of those jets. But for right now, I feel like it's probably John Silva.
All right. So now we got to move our way up the card. You got, we talked about Pitbull already. Michael Chandler and Paddy Pimblett, dude. I think Michael Chandler's going to smash him, dude.
Do you?
I do. And here's why I think that. Because realistically, we all know that Paddy's best weapon really is his submissions, if we're being honest. And he's not going to take Michael Chandler down. And if he does, I think the power that Michael Chandler has, I think Michael Chandler can get back up, because let's not forget, even though Michael Chandler neglects to use it, Michael Chandler can also wrestle. Mm-hmm. And I think that keeps him on his feet. And if it stays on his feet, Michael Chandler can knock anybody out. Yeah. I'm not saying that Paddy doesn't hit hard, but are you telling me you thinking if it got into a stand-up, like even just them throwing back and forth, you're telling me you don't think that Michael Chandler comes out winner, or at least has a good chance at that?
No, yeah.
Paddy claims you don't get knocked out. Remember that promo?
Sure. Yeah. Scousers don't get knocked out.
Well, that Scouser better not get caught on the chin, because power's the last thing to go.
That's what I was gonna say. If you're talking just a clear, like, who's got the power advantage and stuff, when you're talking striking realms and stuff, definitely it's a Chandler. I mean, the way he lunges into a step, his power punches, and just really, like, he turns his body into it in the way that you would want somebody who has a wrestling advantage and isn't worried about the takedown, deficiency or something like that, to throw those power strikes, because he really fucking puts his oomph into it.
That's why I'm saying, like, I don't. That being said,
I was just gonna say, I feel like Paddy, we've seen his striking really evolve, and one thing that we've also seen is his ability to kind of not get conventional takedowns, right? He kind of is one of those guys that will all of a sudden get you up against the fence, and all of a sudden he's crawled around to your back. He's like kind of Oliveira-esque in a way, where
I could see him getting on his back that way. I'm just saying I don't see Paddy taking Michael Chandler down. I don't.
No, but I could see Chandler throwing himself way out of position.
No, that's why I'm saying, like, being able to capitalize on something that I can see. But as far as like him using a takedown to get to the back or a mount or nothing, I don't see that.
Yeah. I don't know, man. That Chandler's the underdog in this fight, according to the odds.
I'm not surprised, because I think the hype's around Paddy, but I mean, I honestly think that Chandler's being slept on in this fight, because if Paddy wants to throw hands, dude, Chandler can end his fucking night quick.
Something must have changed between Saturday and now, because on Saturday night Chandler was plus 215. Tonight he's plus 125.
Okay.
I mean, they'll fluctuate, but I just
We're getting
still
closer
even
as
for
the fight comes near.
Yeah. That
I'm
that
just
makes
saying,
sense
man.
to me. That a small favorite. I feel like what Kyle talks about all the time on the show. Momentum is on the side of Paddy Pimblett. He's been on that. Like I was just saying with John Silver, he's been on that ascension up. He had the bit of arguable fights and stuff like that. Jared Gordon one, stuff like that. But what we've seen since then has been nothing but the continual climb.
I
So
agree
that
with that,
being-
and he's definitely gotten better. That's why I think this is
Yeah.
going to be a really tough fight for Michael Chandler. But I just think if Michael Chandler can use his wrestling enough to keep Paddy away from the submissions, if it gets into a striking fight, even though Paddy may be the more diverse striker, I think Michael Chandler can still knock his head in the third row.
Yeah. Well, that's what
Crazy to see. That'd be
when
crazy.
I was saying earlier, that's what I think one of the ways of victory is for Paddy. Honestly, is get his own head clipped really hard, get knocked down, and then find a submission while off his back. Honestly, while Chandler's looking to tie him up and
I
find
wouldn't
some
recommend
ground and
taking a
pound.
shot just to get down.
No, I'm not saying like
Especially
that
not
should
for
be-
Michael
I'm not
Chandler.
saying
Call
that-
me
I'm not
crazy,
saying-
but
I'm not saying that's part of the game plan. I'm saying like that is a possible route of victory, though. Like looking at how the fight could play out. Like if I'm a fortune teller, I could see Chandler knocks him down with a huge shot, but then Paddy's able to tie him up in a triangle, and that's the fight.
Paddy or Chandler, J-Bone?
Dude, it's tough, but power, man. I got to take Michael Chandler. And I'm a little biased. He's a past guest of the show, so.
Yeah. You think
Facts.
he's sleeping him too, huh?
Say what?
You say you think he's sleeping him. You mentioned power.
I do. I think I don't.
I
think
just feel
Paddy
like
can handle that power.
unless Paddy can do like you said and snake like on his back or something, or grab a hold of some kind of submission like that, like in some weird way, if it ends up on the feet, you can't stay on the feet with Michael Chandler like that. And if there's one thing we do know about Michael Chandler, 100%, Michael Chandler's going to send it. He's about to send that.
Oh
bitch.
yeah,
So
yeah.
win,
He's
lose,
sending
draw,
every
that
one.
motherfucker is going to throw. And if Paddy ain't ready for the power that's coming with it, his chin might go with it.
He reminds me of. You remember when you were playing Halo when you were a kid and you had the sword and you get that like 4-foot lunge? That's that's how Chandler throws every one of his shots. He's got that 4-foot like.
Now
all
it
into
doesn't
it, man.
really last well for longevity, but I'm just saying if
No.
Paddy can't manage to get a submission, it's going to be a hard night for Paddy. But all right, now here's the fight that's most intriguing. Shout out to past guest of the show, Austin Bashy, who's been out there training a shit ton with Diego Lopez for this fight. He's going to be taking on Alexander Volkanovski. I am very intrigued by this fight because I think a lot of people are already writing Alex Volkanovski off for the same thing like we talked about with Michael Chandler. But you have to remember when we're talking like Alex Volkanovski, bro, he literally is still coming off of fighting nothing but the best at 145 and 155. He fought Islam Makhachev and still has probably come the closest as anybody has to beating him in that first fight. And so I'm just saying, like, to think that Volk, and let's not sleep on the fact that even though Diego Lopez has got that momentum like we talked about in previous fights tonight, you also got to take into effect, like, Diego Lopez hasn't fought a guy the caliber of Volk yet. And Volk is being in the main event like this is nothing to him. Like, this is not like him fighting in a title fight. This is another day in the office for him. So I think that's one aspect of this fight that's really being slept on. I think Diego Lopez is a young killer, but in the same, man, I guess I'm like, they just call me Team OG on this one because I picked Pitbull, I picked Chandler, and in this one, I think Volk is going to get the job done just on sheer experience. Now, that said, if Diego Lopez comes out and starches Volk like real quick in the first couple rounds or something like that, I wouldn't be shocked by something like that. But I think if Lopez wins, it's going to be early. But the later the fight goes, I think Volk's experience will kind of chime in.
Yeah, I feel like it's for me at least. I feel like, I mean, we had mentioned it a little bit on our lead up and when the fight had officially got announced and when, Ilya was, relinquishing the belt and stuff like that, is what version of Volk do we see? One thing I've liked is that all the embeddeds and all the like Volk's actual YouTube and stuff like that, he looks very dialed in. He doesn't look like somebody who took a year and a half off and is just coming in off the couch and okay, they called me back. I'm finally back. Put me back in, coach. And
has it been a year and a half? Yeah. Really?
Yeah, it's been. Shit. I think they said it was like 15 months or something.
Wow.
So relatively,
it
might not be a full. Crazy. Yeah, it's a little over a year, however you want to calculate it. But that being said, for Volk, I feel like I've liked what I've seen in the camp and the lead up and all the YouTubes and what I've been able to get my eyes on. What you were mentioning earlier with Austin being out there for Diego, that tells me that he's trying to do what he can to figure out, similar stature guys, maybe, footwork's a little different. Of course, Volk's a champ, Austin working his way to that point. But I mean, you talk about somebody who, I like to see the kind of differences in camp and the fact, like I say, he's bringing in people from all over the world. He's a well-traveled, athlete himself. I think that's one thing that we'll really see, and we have seen work out in Diego's favor. That being said, I don't know if it does in this fight. I feel like Volk still got enough in him, and I feel like skill for skill, he's still the better fighter in this one. It just worries me, like you guys were saying, if Diego wins, it's knockout one of the first 2 rounds. Lands a solid shot, lands another 1-2 on the ground, fight's over, new champ. But that being said, I feel like Volkanovski's probably going to win, but I've felt like that on his last couple as well. And
I mean, but he was fighting Islam Makhachev. That's a whole different story.
He was fighting Ilya Topuria, and now he's fighting Diego Lopez. And I don't think Diego Lopez is some slouch. I
don't at all. I'm not saying that, but I just think that Islam's a different level.
Yeah, I don't think he's personally at that level yet. I think if he continues that ascension that he's on, I think he will be at one of those types of levels with that, like, just raw ability that he brings in. He really pressures people. As long as he doesn't lose that type of mentality in his game, I think Diego Lopez can, the sky's the limit. But I still feel like maybe it's the biasness in me and, like you say, kind of rooting for these old men because that's the class of, it's hard for me to still, you got to do something to, for me to be a big fan yet. And I'm still a big fan of Volk. I like Diego, but I'm a big fan of Volk. So let's go Volk, but this is a tough fight. It really is. This is, I feel like, the most deserving secondary person, maybe Mozart Evloev or whatever, but really I feel like Diego Lopez on the streak he's in, and then you put him against Volk. It's an awesome fight. That's for sure.
Who you got, J-Bone?
It's tough, man, but like you said, Volk's been fighting the top guys for a long time now. This is another day at the office for him, so well, I like Diego Lopez. I just don't think it's time yet. So I'm going to say Volk by decision.
I think he's definitely got to drag him into the later waters to win that fight. I agree with that. But that gets us through UFC 314. We also have got Tuesday's guest last week. Mando Gutierrez makes his PFL debut this Friday on ESPN in the PFL World Tournament. I seen him taking all those fancy pictures in the PFL shorts and all that shit. Shout out to Mando Gutierrez. Hopefully he has a good run. Make sure you go back and check out our chat with Mando. and hear about his road to the cage, hear about his last fight in Japan. We were also joined by his younger brother, Miguel Gutierrez, fresh off a win with Anthony Pettis Fighting Championship. We talked to him about a lot of things. Lots of stuff coming up. I know Darren McCarty will be joining us again soon. We also have WrestleMania is getting ready to come up. So if you're going to be in Vegas, you got to make sure you come up, say what's up, have a good time out in Vegas. Looking forward to seeing some of our past guests of the show. And again, like I said, this Saturday, Two Piece Promotions, Cadillac, Michigan. Make sure you come check it out. If you're in the area, make sure you come check it out. I'm looking forward to seeing some good fights.
We're going to get you an escort this time. Get you a roadway escort this time so you guys know. So nothing happens.
Well, at least
our own personal assault
something.
We need to just like get on our knees and pray to baby Jesus that that there's not 8
Keep
inches
my dudes,
of snow.
all right, please.
Yeah, I don't want that to happen again. I'd like to have my car back by the time we go to, but we'll see. Maybe that's a cliffhanger for the next episode. Will I have my car before the next time that we hit the live button? You got to hit that subscribe button or you'll never know. That said, we'll see you later. Peace.